Hey guys, welcome to my little outdoors Q&A during my COVID isolation. So we'll kick right into it. So the first question I have is a nice easy one. So best hiking socks and boots. Best hiking socks, straight up merino wool. A lot of people wear cotton because that's what most people have in their drawer at home, but the reality is we have a saying in the outdoor world which is cotton kills. Okay, any outdoor clothing that is cotton, we try to avoid it because once wet, it does not keep your core temperature warm. Okay, it's no longer good at insulating. Whereas if you go for either a synthetic, which has the little cores inside the fibers that is able to retain the heat, that's all right. But ideally you want to go merino wool. Merino wool also keeps its comfort level high once wet and is really good at insulating. Okay, avoid bamboo. Bamboo takes far too long to dry once wet. Okay, you don't want to be getting your socks wet and only having 1 or 2 pairs on a 2 or 3 day multi-day and not being able to dry those again in case your other pair gets wet as well. Okay, you need fast drying socks. Okay, the second thing is boots. As far as boots, buy them for the conditions. Okay, don't try to buy one pair of boots or shoes that fits every type of hiking situation you do. It's like trying to get an AT tire on a car, an all-terrain tire, and use it in every situation and expecting it to do its absolute best. It's an all-rounder, but like a hybrid car, it's not great on fuel and it's not great with electricity. It sits in the middle trying to do the best of both. So personally, try to buy the shoes for the conditions. So I have trail runners for short walks, I have my Scarpa boots for longer walks, and then I have like my water shoes for watery situations or really wet trails. Okay, I'm not trying to get one pair that fits all. You will be let down in the end by that. Happy to answer more questions about that in the comments. With socks, just a brand that I personally go for is with the merino wool is Icebreaker. Okay, they're tried and proven. You can get other brands, knockoff brands that are cheaper, but the thing about the merino wool Icebreaker socks is I've had some pairs that I've had them for years and years and years and they're performing as good as the day I bought them. Okay, economically it works out. Okay, the next thing I'm going to move on to is going on to the GPS safety devices. What do I recommend? Okay, firstly, no matter what you go with in terms of GPS safety device, have a backup plan. Okay, a GPS safety device should not replace the need for a solid backup plan that is put in place before you go out on the trail. Things like always having someone knowing where you're going, that's just a given. Okay, even an emergency device, a lot of them, they have to be triggered by someone. If you fall off a rock and hurt yourself and get knocked unconscious, no one's there to trigger it. Okay, so that said, there is one device that we use heavily in the industry, which I personally really like it, and they've got a few different models of it. It's now up to, I think, the 4th generation or 5th generation, and that's the Spot devices. Now, some of you might say, oh, well, what about an epub, or what about the yellow safety ones that you've seen a lot of people talking about just because they're small and they're the smallest one that you can get for that. Look, Spot devices are great because they don't just send out an emergency signal if you need them. Okay, they have that option there and they have multiple options of that. But on the device itself, you have the option to set messages that can be sent to friends, family, or a confidant to let them know you've started an activity, that you've finished an activity, that you've arrived in camp safe, all this sort of thing. You can also let them know that you need help. There's a helping hand symbol. So you can press that and it lets them know, look, you're in trouble, but it's not an emergency. You just need them to come and assist. Okay, you might have run out of water, but you're not dramatically out in the middle of nowhere, and you've got enough to last you, say, till that evening, but you need them to come and resupply. So they've got that there. Then you've got the option of the SOS signal, which straight, if you press that, it brings in all the assistance that you could possibly need. Now, is it a replacement for an epub? Look, in a lot of situations, most people here aren't going into super remote situations from what I've seen. But if you are going super remote, look, that's a different story. That's setting yourself up with a sat phone, which you can hire. Okay, that's still going for something like a Spot or an epub as well. But I like the epubs because someone with the link to it can be constantly tracking where you are. So your safety plan could be like, well, I need to be into camp by 7 p.m. This is the track I'm going to be taking. If they look on the tracking and they see that you've been in one spot for a little bit too long, they can try to get in contact with you. But if you basically go well off course, things like that, that's when they can raise the alarm and see that something's clearly wrong. So, but that goes hand in hand with letting the person know your plan, okay, and sticking to your plan. If you don't stick to the plan, you need to let them know it's changed, okay? That's, once again, common sense, good communication with your backup. Even if you're going for a small walk, you should always have backup. Okay, I always let people know, even if I'm going on a national park trail down at, say, Binnaburra at O'Reilly's, I'll still let someone know what time I plan to be home, because it's even the drive there and back. You never know if something could happen, and it's always good to have that backup. Okay, moving on from that, I have the pack selection thoughts. So with trying a pack, so choosing packs for different situations, once again, like boots, there's not a one size fits all. You do have to choose it to the situation. So a lot of outdoors people I know have like 3 or 4 packs. Okay, you've got everything from your day pack to your overnight pack to then following onto your multi-day packs. And then you've got like a waterproof pack, okay? So you can get carried away with it and buy as many as you want, but the reality is you do need to pick it to the situation still. So I personally say beware of gimmicks. There are a lot of packs out there that have like a little sliding, spine thing so that you can adjust the pack on the fly really quickly. Look, the reality is you're not gonna use that. If you're the only person using your pack, once you set up that spine section and adjust the frame, you're not going to really adjust it again. So having more moving parts is not good. Same with straps. On the straps, if you have little gimmicky things to make it easier to adjust and stuff like that, you're rarely going to use them. Okay, at the end of the day, those gimmicks are just more moving parts that can break. Okay, that's why I steer clear of those, and they're just not a really ideal thing. So going on from there, planning ahead, like if you're needing to get a really big pack because you've got so much stuff, you really need to take the time well ahead of time before the hike to say, do I need these things, or do I not have enough? Okay, even though you're planning to only need this much stuff and you could fit it into like a 38-litre pack, do you need to squeeze it into that size pack, or can you buy a slightly larger pack, giving you the more flexibility to then be able to, say, carry other people's stuff if they are then burdened during the trail because they've injured themselves. Okay, really plan ahead. That's a major part of it. Okay, but having multiple packs is a good idea to fit the scenarios that you're in. Let's say a 3-day hike, I'll still take about a 70 or 75-litre pack, just so I've got the space to be able to fit in everything I need. And the last thing you want to do is be sitting there trying to cram everything into a 35-litre pack at 6 a.m. in the morning before you start the hike. Okay, it's just not ideal. Okay, so the brands that I recommend, personally, I look into the 2 brands that I really like. One of them is the Fancier, one of them is more built to last. Fancier, I look at Osprey. Okay, Osprey make really good packs. Now that's varied over time, but they also have a really good lifetime warranty. I know someone that quite simply, they accidentally sliced their backpack with a knife during an expedition. They took it into the store and they actually replaced it. Now I'm not saying that's gonna happen for everyone by any means, but they really do back their product. Okay, it's a really strong product, but they also have a lot of the ability to adjust the spine of the pack, making sure the harness is fitting, all those sort of things, really comfortable harness belts and all that. They have that. Okay, they're really good quality, and they are sort of more the fancier one out of the 2. The one that I really like in terms of, I do a lot of like expeditions and hikes in super the bugs are bothering me, super remote areas where you might be bush bashing through thick scrub and you can't have your pack tearing or anything breaking or things hanging off it that'll get caught on the shrubs. I go for One Planet. Now One Planet's an Aussie brand, amazing brand, once again super backing of their products. Right, I have a travel pack that I had an issue with because I somehow managed to wear a hole in it. That was my fault, 100%. That was my use of it. And they sent me out patches and everything from the other side of Australia, free of charge. So really awesome. Once again, not always going to do that for people, but the reality is they back their product and they have some just amazing hard-wearing products. Their canvas even, most of their canvas is somewhat waterproof despite just being canvas. Okay, it handles like a quick shower really, really well. The downside is most of them you do have to buy a pack cover for. Okay, they use them a lot in the industry as school camp packs for kids because they are so hard wearing and long lasting. But awesome support. The next one, moving on to the thoughts on the rise of trail apps and GPS watches versus traditional map and compass navigation. How do I feel about the purists saying only seasoned hikers should be attempting harder trails and mountains? Can there be a middle ground? Ooh. So this one has many different opinions from many different people, no doubt. My thoughts on the rise of trail apps and GPS watches is that they don't replace traditional methods. Let's get that really clear. They are not a replacement for traditional methods of navigation. This is one of those, they are great at assisting in your navigation, great for tracking your steps, great for seeing how far you are along the trail. I personally use trail maps all the time, especially the app ones, and they're really handy, but they're once again, there's sort of a gimmick if you don't have those traditional skills already. So you should really be looking at where you're going. Do you have the skills to navigate? Let's say if your phone broke and you no longer have that app. Okay, it's not a replacement, but it's handy and it's a fun thing to have there as well. And it can be a useful tool, but it is a tool, not a replacement. I just want to make that really super clear. Traditional map and compass navigation, look, that's something that it's a dying skill, and it's really sad to see. I personally really want people out there to build on those skills, all right? You've got to get better with those things if you want to go more remote, okay? Not being prepared to be able to just simply find out which way is north and things like that. Those are simple things that you can learn really quite easily, that at the end of the day could save your life. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's been the case on many occasions. I learnt my traditional map reading and navigation skills with Outward Bound Australia. I did night nav through the middle of nowhere in the Snow River region. We were bush bashing, there was no trails. Look, those skills are the most valuable thing I deem that I have in the hiking world, okay? And they've got me and many other people out of trouble many times. So, look, I love those apps, love those things, but they are not a replacement. How do I feel about the purists? Well, the purists saying that only seasoned hikers should be attempting the harder or more difficult trails. Look, at the end of the day, you have to start with the foundation skills, okay? You have to start with the foundations and build up from there, okay? You can't just, it's like even experienced hikers train for Everest or train for Everest Base Camp. They don't just wake up one day and go, I'm doing that, okay? And the reason for that is because if you don't have those base skills, okay, you don't know what you're capable of yet. And it's great to be like, I can achieve anything, I'm amazing, but can you? Look, I learned my limits once. I learned my limits many times, and it's developed to the point now where I can push my limits more because I know what I'm capable of. If you don't know your limits, it is a dangerous place to be in, and it's what we call unconscious incompetence. It's where you don't know that you don't know something, and that's really dangerous in the outdoor world, okay? So personally, I look at it, it's more of a spectrum. So it's not whether you should have to be super experienced or whether you can be super inexperienced to go do these things. It is a spectrum, and the more experience you develop, you move further up that spectrum, okay? And then you fit into the category of different styles of hikes. Now you can skip further up the spectrum by going on those hikes with super experienced people, but at the end of the day, it's really important that you develop your skills sort of in line with the hikes and stuff you're doing. You really shouldn't be doing, like for example, I go on solo hikes by myself all the time. I know I have the skills to handle myself out there. People will say, what if I get injured? Look, that's a different thing, and that's why I've got backup safety. But the reality is I have those skills. Now, if someone that's never hiked before goes off track, inexperienced hiking, next minute, you know, we've got the SES and flying doctor and everyone having to get involved. It's, say what you will, but that's how it is. You know, the purists, look, everyone's got an opinion. I'm not a purist, I just believe in knowing your limits. The purists and keyboard warriors will always give you nonsense. I was gonna use another word, but they will always give you nonsense, and they will always wanna have their opinion. Look, prove them wrong. Prove them wrong by going out there, developing your skills and showing them that you're capable, and just be the best version of yourself when hiking, okay? It doesn't hurt to build those skills, okay? There's plenty of people like myself willing to share their experience. Okay, moving on from that one, we're gonna go on to leeches, how to deal with leeches. Look, there's a million different opinions on how to deal with this. Personally, I use a really sharp knife, and if it's on my skin, I pull the skin taut, and I will use a sharp knife to skim it off. Okay, so just get it off nice and easy. That's the quickest and easiest way, and it avoids the least trauma to the leech. If a leech is under trauma, certain studies have shown that they can basically release some of the blood that they've been ingesting back in, things like that, cause essentially bacteria to get into your system, cause infection. Look, just skim it off, and at the end of the day, they're only gonna eat as much as they need to survive. Once they've had their fill, they're falling off. All right, so those are my two approaches. Either, oh look, it's there, it's about to fall off, you know, tap it and it falls off because it's full, or I skim it off with a sharp knife. You do not need to go putting Dettol or salt or whatever on leeches. That's one, it's inhumane on one level, but two, on the other level, it causes trauma to them, okay? And it's just another thing you've got to carry. If you're trying to keep your pack light, don't carry a little packet of salt. It's a bit bizarre. Why leave no trace is so important. Okay, leave no trace. The best thing I can do is give you analogies, all right? And this is how I educate other people as well to understand it. Analogy, the way I would go about it is I would say it's like carrying a rock. All right, when you're hiking, if you put one rock in your pack, okay, you can handle that. You won't really notice it's there. But every rock you add adds to the burden. And eventually you'll have so many rocks that you're like, I can't continue on. That is the same with how the environment handles your rubbish and your impacts. All right, one piece of rubbish, one apple core, it's not going to care, it's not going to notice, okay? The animals won't really care. But if you add and you add and you add and you add, eventually the environment goes, I can't continue, I can't carry on, this is hurt too much, okay? So really think about that, okay? One person doing something might not be the end of the world, but if multiple people and it carries on do that, look, at the end of the day, it will ruin the area. Animals will get reliant on you, and aesthetically, it looks horrible. It looks horrible. There's nothing worse than seeing little white flags sticking up out of the dirt from people who don't know how to go toileting properly. Okay, carry a little shovel. Heck, move a big rock if you need to, but clean up after yourself. Leave no trace. Okay, so how do you go about educating people in your groups? So I always went about educating people, like I said, by giving them analogies, giving them things that they could basically relate to, link, and then relink to their situation. So humans are inherently selfish when it comes to this, and I know people will disagree, but they are. Humans are inherently selfish creatures. You've got to make it a problem for them. So when educating people, the best thing you can do is show how it affects them, how it is going to make their time worse, how it is going to make their enjoyment of an area worse. They will then go, well, I don't want that to happen because I would enjoy that place. Okay, and all you can do is hope that that then carries on to them having that consideration of others. Look, if someone then doesn't take that on and consider others, there's a good chance that they never will. Some people just are like that, and it is horrible. And unfortunately, that's why we have fines. Okay, if you see major disturbance in a national park area, major littering, things like that, take photos, give it to national parks. They have trail cameras, they can follow it up. It's not about being a Grinch and being like their parent chasing up. It's about keeping where we want to explore pristine. Okay, you're not doing anything wrong by letting national parks know. They're there to help police that. They're there to find people that unfortunately don't learn the easy way. Okay, so that's really how I go about educating people. Look, I hope those sort of answers really helped with some of those things. I'm more than happy to answer some more if you guys want me to do another video on this with more questions out there. I have lots and lots of experience, plenty of time on my hands right now, so happy to answer more questions. But thank you for sending those through. Like I said, it's given me something to do during my isolation, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon.